Victoria Chen didn't sleep on planes, she didn't sleep on strangers' shoulders, and she certainly didn't drool. But when she jerked awake somewhere over Kansas, her cheek was pressed against worn denim, and there was definitely moisture on her chin. The man beside her, mid-30s, rumpled t-shirt, discount headphones around his neck, was staring straight ahead with the careful stillness of someone trying not to disturb a sleeping cat. Oh my God. Victoria yanked herself upright, swiping at her face. I apologize, that's never, accidents happen. His voice was quiet, almost amused. He still didn't look at her. You seemed like you needed it. She had needed it. 72 hours without real sleep. Back-to-back acquisitions. A board meeting that ended at midnight. She'd collapsed into seat 12A at 6 a.m., barely conscious enough to notice the man in 12B smelled like laundry detergent and something sweet. Maple syrup, maybe. Victoria smoothed her silk blouse, reconstructing her armor. Still, unprofessional of me. We're not at work. He glanced at her then, just briefly. His eyes were kind, tired but kind. We're in a metal tube at 35,000 feet. Different rules up here. The flight attendant's voice crackled overhead. Due to turbulence, we'll be suspending beverage service. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened. Victoria pulled out her laptop. Tried to focus on the quarterly reports, but her neck remembered the unexpected comfort of that shoulder, and her high-functioning brain kept circling back to one detail, his hands. They were crossed in his lap now, and they told a story, calloused, clean but worn, a white band of skin on his ring finger where something used to be, nails trimmed short, working hands, careful hands. She'd spent 15 years reading people in boardrooms. This man was exhausted, not sleepy tired, soul tired. The plane shuddered, her coffee cup empty, thankfully skittered across her tray table. He caught it without looking, handed it back. Thanks. No problem. They sat in silence. She tried to work. He stared at the seat in front of him like it held answers. When the turbulence eased, the flight attendant came through with her cart. Victoria ordered sparkling water. The man shook his head. Nothing for you, sir. I'm good, thank you, though. Victoria noticed the way he said it. Polite, definite. The way you decline when you're counting every dollar. She shouldn't look. She had reports to review, emails to answer, an empire to run. But when he pulled a backpack from under the seat in front of him, she watched from the corner of her eye. The bag was decorated with stickers, dinosaurs, rainbows, a unicorn with a wonky horn. He unzipped it carefully, like it held something precious. It did, a small plastic container. He opened it to reveal a pile of airplane snack packs, pretzels, cookies, crackers, the kind you buy in bulk at warehouse stores. He selected 2 packs of crackers, then after a pause put one back. Something in Victoria's chest twisted. He ate slowly, making it last. When he finished, he pulled out a pill organizer, the kind with days of the week printed on top, and shook 2 tablets into his palm, swallowed them dry. Victoria looked away too late. He'd noticed her noticing. Blood pressure. He said it casually, like it was normal for someone his age. Nothing dramatic. You should have gotten something to drink to take those. I'm okay. He tucked the pills away, then pulled out a folded piece of paper, unfolded it with the gentleness people reserve for holy things or fragile ones. It was a drawing, crayon on printer paper, wrinkled from being handled. A child's drawing, a man and a girl holding hands under a yellow sun. The figures had triangle bodies and circle heads and smiles that took up half their faces. He looked at it for a long moment, traced the yellow sun with one finger. Your daughter? Victoria heard herself ask. He blinked like he'd forgotten she was there. Yeah, Emma, she's 7. She's talented. She's everything. He said it simply, statement of fact. Then he refolded the drawing, tucked it back into the bag with the stickers and the counted snacks. The plane tilted slightly, beginning its descent. The flight attendant's voice returned. We'll be landing in Denver in approximately 30 minutes. Denver, Victoria's connection city, 40-minute layover, then on to San Francisco for a fundraiser she didn't want to attend. The man beside her exhaled slowly. His hands tightened on the armrests. Connecting flight? Victoria asked. No, this is it. He paused. My daughter's there, at Children's Hospital. The twist in Victoria's chest became a fist. She's okay, he added quickly, like he'd given this explanation before. Like he was used to managing other people's reactions to his pain. I mean, she will be leukemia. She's responding to treatment. I work in Austin. I fly out every 2 weeks. Stay 4 days, fly back. Victoria's quarterly reports suddenly seemed very small. The mother, she didn't know why she asked. It wasn't her business. Gone 2 years ago, couldn't handle it. No bitterness in his voice, just fact. It's just me and Emma now, and you're working, flying back and forth. Construction, I've got a good supervisor, he works around my schedule. The man managed a small smile. Can't afford not to work. Medical bills don't pause for tragedy. The plane descended further. Victoria's ears popped. She should say something comforting. She'd given speeches to thousands. She'd negotiated billion-dollar deals. Words were her weapon and her armor, but she had no words for this. I'm Marcus, by the way. He held out his hand. She took it. Victoria. His handshake was firm despite the exhaustion, despite everything. Nice to meet you, Victoria. Sorry about the whole shoulder thing. You apologizing? I'm the one who drooled on you. Accidentally. He smiled, a real one this time. Accidents happen. There it was again, that phrase. But this time Victoria heard what lived underneath it. Forgiveness for himself, for his ex-wife. For the universe that gave his daughter cancer and him this impossible life of divided loyalties and counted crackers. The wheels touched down. Smooth landing. Around them people immediately stood, grabbing bags, checking phones, rebuilding their lives after the strange suspension of flight. Marcus stayed seated until the aisle cleared. When he stood, Victoria saw him wince slightly, saw him press a hand to his lower back. Construction, she asked. 12-hour days on concrete. He pulled down his backpack, the one covered in his daughter's stickers. But it's good work, honest work. They shuffled toward the exit. The flight attendants smiled their professional smiles. Thank you for flying with us. In the jetway, Marcus turned to her. Well, good luck with whatever brought you to Denver. Just a connection, San Francisco. Nice. He adjusted his backpack. I hope you get some real sleep eventually. He started to walk away. Victoria stood there, passengers flowing around her like water around a stone. She thought about her townhouse in Manhattan, the one with 4 bedrooms she never used, the cleaning service that came twice a week, the fridge full of takeout she never ate because she was always at another dinner, another meeting, another place where important people made important decisions. She thought about Marcus's hands, the pill organizer, the carefully counted snacks. Drawing folded and unfolded so many times the creases were starting to tear. She thought about Emma, 7 years old, fighting for her life in a hospital room, waiting for her father who flew 1,000 miles every 2 weeks because love doesn't understand distance and devotion doesn't respect impossibility. Marcus, wait, he turned. Victoria walked back to him. She pulled out her phone. What's your daughter's name again? Emma what? Emma Rodriguez. His tired eyes narrowed slightly, protective. Why? And she's at Children's Hospital Denver. Victoria, I'm not, she stopped, started again. I run a foundation, Chen Medical Initiative. We fund experimental treatments, cover gaps in insurance, that kind of thing. It's mostly grant-based, but we have an emergency fund for, I'm not a charity case. His voice was still kind, but firm. I know, that's not. Victoria ran a hand through her hair, messing up the careful styling for the first time in years. Look. I have more money than I know what to do with. I've spent 15 years building a fortune and the last 5 trying to figure out what it's for. And she stopped, breathed. You let me sleep on your shoulder. You didn't have to. You could have woken me up. You were probably uncomfortable, but you let a stranger rest because she needed it and you're kind. That's worth something. That should be worth something. Marcus's eyes were bright. He blinked rapidly. I can't take your money. It's not mine. It's the foundation's, and it goes to families exactly like yours. This is literally what it exists for. She pulled up the website on her phone, showed him. You apply, there's a process. I'm not handing you cash. I'm telling you about a resource you should know about. He stared at the screen. She watched him read, watched the hope and resistance war on his face. The application process takes weeks, he said finally. Usually, I'm on the board. She met his eyes. I can make some calls. Victoria, Emma needs you present, not exhausted. She needs you with her, not building houses in another state. Let me help, please. The please did it. She saw the moment his resistance cracked. Why? His voice was barely a whisper. Because accidents happen, Victoria smiled. And sometimes they're the best thing. Sometimes you fall asleep on a stranger's shoulder and wake up remembering what matters. Marcus's face crumpled, just for a second. Then he straightened, nodded once, and held out his hand again. This time when she took it, she held on. I'll send you the information. You fill out the application, we'll take it from there. Okay. He released her hand, wiped his eyes, managed a shaky laugh. I was not expecting this flight to go this way. Neither was I. They exchanged numbers. Real numbers, not business cards. Then Marcus headed toward ground transportation and Victoria headed toward her connection gate. But she didn't get on the plane to San Francisco. She called her assistant, canceled the fundraiser, rebooked a flight to Austin for the next day. Then she pulled up the foundation's emergency contact list and started making calls. By the time Marcus reached the hospital, Emma's treatment coordinator had already called him. There had been a development with his application, expedited approval, full coverage for Emma's treatment, and a family housing stipend so he could stay in Denver during the intensive phases. He called Victoria from Emma's room. She could hear the tears in his voice. How did you? The application usually takes. Accidents happen, she said softly. Sometimes good ones. 3 months later, Victoria flew to Denver again, but this time it wasn't a connection. It was a destination. She met Marcus and Emma at a park near the hospital. Emma was thin, bald from treatment, and wearing a yellow shirt the same color as the sun in her drawing. She ran to Victoria with the fearless enthusiasm of children who have already faced down monsters. You're my dad's plane friend, Victoria laughed. I guess I am. They had a picnic. Emma drew pictures. Victoria got one with a purple dragon. Marcus brought homemade sandwiches and insisted on sharing even though Victoria offered to buy lunch. Different rules down here, he said, echoing his words from the plane. We're not at 35,000 feet. We're just people, and people share. As the sun set, painting everything gold, Emma fell asleep between them on the blanket. Marcus adjusted her carefully, tucking a jacket under her head. Her counts are good, he said quietly. Doctor says if this trajectory continues, she'll be in remission by Christmas. That's wonderful. It's because of you. It's because of medicine and her strength. And your love, and you, he looked at her. You didn't have to do any of this. Yes, I did. Victoria watched Emma sleep, this tiny warrior who'd somehow changed the trajectory of a CEO's carefully planned life. I was so tired, Marcus, not just that day, for years, tired of building things that didn't matter, tired of success that felt empty, tired of being alone in a crowd. And now I'm still tired, she smiled. But it's a different kind, the good kind. The kind that comes from showing up. Marcus nodded. They sat in comfortable silence as the sky turned from gold to pink to purple. Emma stirred, opened her eyes, and smiled at them both. Did you know, she said, her voice sleepy and wise the way children's voices can be, that accidents are just things trying to be good? Victoria and Marcus looked at each other. Where'd you learn that? Marcus asked. I made it up, just now. Emma sat up. Because you guys met by accident and now we're friends. So it was a good thing pretending to be an accident. Out of the mouths of babes. As Victoria drove back to her hotel that night, she thought about that flight, about how exhaustion had stripped away her careful control, about a shoulder that smelled like laundry detergent and maple syrup, about counted crackers and yellow suns, and the way kindness costs nothing and everything at the same time. She thought about Emma's words, accidents trying to be good. Maybe that's all any of them were. People stumbling through the sky, looking for a safe place to rest. And maybe, if they were very lucky, they'd find a shoulder to lean on. someone who'd let them sleep, someone who'd show them that wealth wasn't measured in quarterly reports, but in yellow crayon suns and homemade sandwiches, and the fierce love of fathers who fly 1,000 miles to hold their daughter's hand. Victoria never made it to that San Francisco fundraiser. But 6 months later, she launched a new initiative, the Emma Fund, focused on supporting single parents with children facing medical crises. At the launch event, Marcus and Emma stood on stage with her. Emma, in remission, wore yellow. Marcus wore a suit that Victoria had definitely not secretly arranged for him to receive. And Victoria wore something she hadn't worn in years, a genuine smile. When the reporters asked what inspired the fund, Victoria looked at Marcus. He nodded. "I fell asleep on a stranger's shoulder," she said, "and woke up to what mattered, that's all. Sometimes the best things in life are accidents, and sometimes kindness is just keeping still so someone tired can rest." The photo that went viral wasn't from the fancy event with the speeches and the press. It was one Marcus posted later that night, Emma, asleep between him and Victoria on a hotel couch, while they finalized paperwork for the fund. 3 people who'd been strangers, now family. All because of turbulence and exhaustion, and one man who understood that the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them be human. The caption was simple: "Accidents happen, thank God for that." And in the comments, thousands of people shared their own stories of unexpected kindness, of strangers who became friends, of exhaustion that led to awakening, of the beautiful accidents that change everything. Because that's the thing about falling asleep on someone's shoulder. You wake up differently than you were, softer, more human, more real. And sometimes, if you're very fortunate, you wake up speechless, not because you have no words, but because the right ones haven't been invented yet for the moment when a stranger's kindness cracks open your heart and lets the light pour in. Accidents happen, and sometimes they're the best thing that ever did.